Time now for Morning Rounds with CBS News Chief Medical Correspondent Dr. Jon LaPook and CBS News contributor Dr. Narula. First up, the Zika virus. More than 24 cases of Zika infection spread by local mosquitoes are now reported in South Florida, most within a roughly 1 square mile area in northern Miami. The CDC has issued guidelines for pregnant women and their partners, but there are still some serious questions looming. So, Jon, if we could, let's start with you. Obviously, of great concern for a lot of people, especially pregnant women right now. And a lot of these questions center around DEET and what sprays you're supposed to use. What is the recommendation now?
Yeah, this is a big area of concern for people. Now DEET is the active ingredient in many of these insecticides, and it has a very good safety record, actually. It's been around for more than 50 years. But I spoke to the CDC and said, how do we know that it's safe? You're saying on your website it's safe during pregnancy. How do you know that? They said, well, speak to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency. That's where we got that information from. So I did. I spoke to Dana Vogel, who's the head of the division of the EPA that examines the health effects of pesticides. And she said that their recommendation is based on a bunch of things. One of them, the most commonly, is extensive animal research, right? So it's been shown to be safe there. And then there's also what's called epidemiologic information. So that means, are there reports of there being problems? It's very hard to actually do experiments, obviously for ethical reasons, on people, on pregnant women. But there is one reassuring study which was done on pregnant women who used 20% DEET every day during their pregnancy in the second and third trimester, and there was no problem with either the baby or the mother. But the bottom line is, what Dana Vogel said to me is, any product that's on the market is not on the market unless it's shown to be safe and effective.
It seems so overwhelming that when you go to buy a can of one thing, there's so many different numbers. Is there anything in particular, aside from that 20% you just mentioned, that people should be mindful of?
Yeah, well, the first thing is, and everybody emphasized this to me who I spoke to, is make sure you read the label carefully and follow the directions carefully. You may think it's intuitively obvious how to use it, but it may not be. And then I learned something new, which is, you see these percentages of DEET, the concentration ranging anywhere from 5 to 100%. It turns out that the higher concentration doesn't mean that it works better. It means that it lasts longer. So one industry trade group said that 5% DEET, for example, lasts about an hour, and 30% can last up to 8 hours. Very interesting.
If for some reason you don't feel comfortable with DEET at all, are there other options that are recommended?
There are other options, and actually there's a wonderful tool that's available on the Environmental Protection Agency website. It's an interactive website that can help you sort out your choices. What you do is you plug in things like how long you want protection and whether it's from mosquitoes, ticks, or both, and it gives you a list of products to choose from.
All right, moving on, the Rio Olympics are in full swing, and swimming superstar Michael Phelps is again in the spotlight, and not only for his winning ways. If you've been watching at home, you've probably noticed and wondered about those circular bruises all over Phelps' body. They come from something called cupping, an ancient treatment for sore muscles. This is like the best commercial cupping could ever have. Everybody's talking about it.
Best endorsement.
Yeah.
So cupping is a technique that's been around for thousands of years, practiced by the ancient Egyptians, the ancient Greeks, and a big part of traditional Chinese medicine. And the idea is that you take cups, place them on different parts of the body, the back, chest, abdomen, and buttocks most typically, for 5 to 20 minutes, and you apply either heat or a suction pump that creates a vacuum. That vacuum pulls up on the skin and soft tissue, pulls it away from the muscle, and what it does is expand or dilate the capillaries, which are the small blood vessels, and even cause them to rupture, which is what causes the bruises. Now, the thinking is that by doing this, you're creating inflammation, so you could stimulate the immune system, which may be helpful. You're stimulating the nervous system. You're increasing localized blood flow, which can clear away toxins and help cell repair and tissue repair. And you're also increasing lymphatic flow. So these are the ideas behind how it might work. There's also the potential for a placebo effect, which we know can be very powerful. But the idea is that it promotes healing and that it reduces pain.
Yeah, I didn't realize that some people actually swear by it for back pain, for lower back pain in some cases. The bruises do look painful.
They're breaking capillaries.
They're not, though, right? I mean,
well, I think it depends on your pain threshold. So some people actually say that this technique is pleasurable. It feels good. Other people say that yes, it's mildly uncomfortable. It does feel like kind of a warm pulling sensation on your body, similar to getting a hickey, is how it's been described. And the thinking is that it's relatively safe for the most part. It does cause localized edema or swelling, and also the bruising that you mentioned. But in addition, addition, there have been case reports of it causing skin infection, skin blistering, and skin burning. So even though you can buy a kit from Amazon for $15, it's probably best done by a licensed acupuncturist. They actually have to be trained in cupping to get their certification.
I'm wondering how far this is going to spread. You know, the person behind the checkout counter, the guy pumping gas, you know, you're going to start seeing these everywhere.
Do you get some sense that people are looking for an alternative, especially when you mention the back? I mean, I think that's the complaint so many people have.
Everybody wants an inexpensive, safe, and natural way to heal their bodies. And, you know, certainly we've seen celebrities doing this, but I think Michael Phelps is one of the biggest endorsements that cupping has gotten. When you see an elite athlete of, you know, his talent, who's so respected doing this, you wonder, this must be credible, and there must be something to this. So no question this will probably increase this trend.
He makes the bruises look cool.
He does,
Yeah.
he does.
All right, finally this morning, health concerns about big music festivals. When you combine hordes of people, an enclosed space, and high summer temperatures, Britain's public health agency says music may not be the only thing you catch. This year, 234 cases of measles have been linked to festivals and other large public events, compared to 54 from the same period last year. The British government is warning young people to get vaccinated.
Yet another reason to get vaccinated. This is really easy. Get vaccinated.
All right, Doctors Jon LaPook and Narula, thank you both so much.